to day two of the Blooming Lotus. I am your host, Dr. Naomi Osemedwa. I'm really excited coming your way today. Yesterday, we had a power opening, three phenomenal speakers who shared, different perspectives. We had Pastor Fanny Bikuride share the role of faith-based organizations from the Christian perspective. We had Coach Didi, a mental health advocate, share insights on just what it looks like from being a Muslim woman, the Muslim perspective. And we had the one and only Chinwe joining us all the way from the UK. And she shared her personal journey with us of surviving intimate partner violence. Now, today, day two, we are going to be uniting with the men. And this is so profound for me because we will have three men on stage today. Two men will be sharing the role of men as allies, and we will have one man share on the role of the youth. So I'm really excited. I'm looking out for them and trying to make sure that they are joining me. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me see. Need to share the right link. It seems I may have shared a different link for my guests. So let me quickly share this. I started early, so I'm going to share this very quickly and have them join us. But if you were here yesterday, I want you to share your thoughts. What is happening at your end? We had so many comments. One of the highlights for me yesterday was when Coach Didi started. I mean, she opened up the conversation and really just talked about the importance of the imams and how there should be more counseling and how we can't even get enough of that. Pastor Fanny talked about the role of the church, and she started by saying the family is the first church. So give me a second, let me share the links with our speakers. For some reason, they seem to have a different link from what I have. So let me share this actual link with them, and then I can bring them in very quickly because I know they're ready for this. I know they're ready for this. I know they are ready for this. Please let me know if you're joining me live on YouTube. Let me know where you are in the world. It will be my pleasure to celebrate you and welcome you officially today. I want to make sure that our speakers come in and share. Yes, apparently. It's the same story everywhere. Not sure. Okay. So they're coming in now. Oh, wow. Not sure how this happened, but hey, gotta love technology. Okay. So I have them in the room. They are joining me in the room. So I feel, I feel different today. So yesterday I had three women, and today I am going to be in the midst of three men. But I think it's important for us to have this conversation, especially as to having men in the conversations, because when you think about it, when we raise the alarm about violence against women, usually the perpetrators are men. And so I love that we're bringing in the men and we're going to hear from the men. So three men are joining me today. I have Mr. Kelvin, he's here already. He's joining me, I believe, from Abuja, unless he's somewhere else around the world. I know Tunde. Oosh, look at you. You came in with so much bright lights. Hi, Tunde. I know he's joining us from California, and it must be pretty early where you are. And
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Ho. How you doing?
yes, it's morning for you. And there we
Yes.
have Kelvin Charles. Hello, sir. Hey,
Hello,
in
good
the midst
evening.
Good morning, Kelvin. How you doing?
Good, I'm very well, thank you, sir. How are you, sir?
Awesome. Nice to meet you,
Oh,
sir.
wow.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah.
So, so lovely. Look at this. I'm already feeling like I don't know. I'm just already feeling so cool with myself. First of all, I want to start by thanking you both for being here today. This conversation is so important. Yesterday, the 25th of November, the UN Women event, 16 Days of Activism, kicked off around the world. And the theme for this year is uniting to and prevent the violence against women and girls. And we are having a week-long conversations. And today we're going to be looking at the role of men as allies because we need the men. And of course, Kelvin will be talking about the role of the youth. Yesterday we had two faith-based leaders talk about the role of faith-based partner violence and how she's taken all of that pain and she's turned it into her power. So without further ado, I am going to start with you, Mr. Tunde. First of all, first of all, I said I was going to ask this, and I know it might put you off, but I think it's such an important question to ask. Have you ever hit a woman? Let's even know who we're listening to. Have you ever hit a woman? And I know that question, you didn't see that coming. Even I didn't see it coming. But I was like, I'm going to ask because, yeah, have you ever hit a woman?
I wanted to say, even if I have, I was going to say I haven't.
Like, we're live. I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to put myself out there.
On a serious note, I haven't. Yeah. So, because when you've witnessed something, and growing up, you've seen the environment that you grew up in. You see other people, the way they handle relationships, and I'm always asking my question: what is going on here?
It's my connection.
Why should it be that women are always seen as the weaker vessel,
Right.
the one that needs to be beneath the man in a way. And, all of the shenanigans, that comes in any relationship,
Right.
And I always like to go to the Bible, it's the book of the
Yes, please.
beginnings. That's where
Yes, please.
a marriage, relationship, family, and all that that's the manual for us to define how a relationship, how a marriage should be. So it's always been that misinterpretation or of what a woman should be is always a weaker vessel. And, but as one grow up, you begin to study more, you find out that no, the woman in any relationship, is supposed to strengthen the husband. This is your helper. This is like your pillar. This is your support. Because when God created Adam, he saw that it was not good for him to be alone.
Rich.
I mean, this is a creator himself. He just had that defining moment, like to say, hey, it looks like this dude is not going to be alone. Let me bring that support. Let me bring that pillar. Let me bring that help. So that this man can be in that state of completeness.
Right.
But as one is growing up, and also me being from like diverse backgrounds of religious beliefs. I used to be a Muslim, and you never know all the
For real?
stories. Are you knowing that for the first time? I never mentioned that to you, right?
No.
We never talked
For
about
real?
that. Yeah, I was born into a Muslim family. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. So you've been on both sides. And
On
so,
both
I mean,
sides.
wow.
Yeah. So I kind of
Yeah.
have like an understanding or, the way things are being misinterpreted, even on the side that I'm coming from as a Muslim or the point of view as a Christian, what do you think that is and all that, and all the
Right.
dynamics that actually you would reference when it comes to being in a marriage, being in a relationship. So
Right.
it's always that narrative that, oh, they're like a weaker vessel. They do, they just have to be quiet. They just have they don't have a say in the family, and it's always the
Mm-hmm.
man, and there's always that bossiness. On the Muslim
Mm.
side, you can as well have probably a minimum of 4 wives or more, and all of that.
Right.
And so it's all of these narratives that would make one to feel men have been empowered in a way
Mm.
to feel like, hey,
Is it
under
me?
my
Did
feet,
he
you need to
freeze?
report to
Okay.
me,
Yeah.
and which is wrong. Marriage
Right.
by God's design is supposed to be that commitment from both the man and the woman coming to have a common vision that will make that family unit work. That is the way God had designed it. The
Mm.
creator himself saw that it wasn't good for man to be alone.
To be
Then he
alone.
brought the woman so that he can have that completeness in him, which is why
Wow.
you as women, and I'm loving what you're doing. You're having this kind of advocacy uh, uh, um, organization where you actually empowering women so that women can
Mm.
have that their rightful place in society. They can be
Right.
empowered. They can come out of that shell, hiding from so many mishaps that they've gone through,
Right.
from the community, from their loved ones, from whoever it is that they connected to, and share
Wow.
stories that are meaningful so that other women, probably from other generation, or even those who have been mute or muted for a long time, will come out and speak about their stories just to inspire others that, hey, this
Wow.
is not the way it's supposed to be. The
Mm.
narratives has to change.
It has to
We are
change. It
tired,
has to change.
like the women. I'm glad, like people like you, Dr. Naomi, you're coming out, you're saying, women, let's go. I just remember, hello,
Mm.
Mr. TJ, how you doing, sir? I just wanted
TJ,
to acknowledge you
I
also.
brought TJ in. I just brought TJ in, and please hold your thoughts. I just brought TJ
Yeah.
in because TJ TJ is my brother from another mother. I mean, both of
Oh,
you are like
wow.
my brothers from
Awesome.
another mother. Officially, I only have one biological brother, but God has blessed me with amazing men. I mean, and you both have
Yeah,
been such, beautiful support for me on my journey, and I thank you.
right.
All it
And how
took was
come
just
we
a
having
text.
like we kind of like look alike, having the same kind of facial
I don't even know what's going
features?
on here.
I only have
I was
gray,
just
but
going to
he's
say,
all
I was just
black.
going to say
But
that. I was just going to say that.
The same
The
yeah.
look,
difference is just the beard.
the same skin look.
Probably
Yeah,
I
it's the
should get my
beards. I mean,
glasses. I should get my glasses as well.
Okay, yeah. Please make it complete.
Now you are two. Now you guys are
wait,
twinning.
and wait, let me pin Kelvin because there's something going on here. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. What's going on? Kelvin, you don't have hair too.
I don't have actually. No, no. It's a lot of wisdom has taken away the hair, so that's what happened.
Oh my
There's a
God.
little.
You can say that louder.
Oh my goodness. What?
You didn't
Amazing.
know what is
Once again,
Yeah,
it's such an honor to have you all here. So Tunde has opened the floor very powerfully, really just sharing insights on, just what God's word says about, the role of men. And this conversation, I don't even believe we can scratch the surface, but we must have it as part of advocacy because we need the men. For every um, 1,000 events that happen for women, and I know you both agree, and even Kelvin, it's probably ratio 1,000 to 1. For as many events that happen for women, you find that there are not very many conversations happening with the men. What's happening? Because you find out that the women go, they hear, they're empowered. And this is not to say that sometimes the tables are not, the other way around, where the women are the abusers. But because of the week we're in and how the conversation is preventing violence against women, our focus is on the women for this call. What is going on? Why are we not having more conversations? Why are the men not coming together? Some will say it's ego. Some would say it's pride. And then when we now look at when we bring it home to Africa, because I do know, I mean, Tunde, you're an American, you're Nigerian American. When we bring it home to Africa, you now hear things about the African man. I need to understand because there are issues. Women are broken. There's so much going on. TJ, what's happening with the men folk? What's going on? How are we raising men in this generation? How are we teaching men to do better?
Okay. Is she
To
freezing
protect
or
the woman and not harm her. Please talk to us.
no? Okay.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Naomi. It's been good you joined the spotlight yourself, so we all see you on board. Thank you for that amazing question. I just got thinking while you were asking the question, and
Is it
it's
my
almost.
network? I'm not sure.
Can you hear me? Confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So,
can hear you.
your
I just
question,
wanted to pin you.
your
Yes, I can
question
hear
is
you.
almost, yes, your question is
It seems
almost
like
making, I think she's having a network issue.
Yes.
okay, TJ, do you want to try turn off your video? Tunde, can you hear him? Or is it me? I need to
Yeah,
be
I can
sure.
hear you. I think your network is
I
from
think
your
it's
side.
your network, Naomi.
Okay,
I
he
think yours
froze.
is, yeah, it's been
I think
breaking
he
a little
froze.
bit. Yeah, it froze.
Sorry,
No,
can
so
you hear me? Can you hear me?
loud and clear, Kelvin, can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you, Kelvin.
So this is actually part of what is happening. You see, the network is working for the men. It's not working for the woman.
Jay. I hope Naomi he heard that.
I don't think she did.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope she finds a way to come back to the conversation. But
Yeah, I think so. Probably she's trying to do one or two things.
yes, but just before she comes back, I was just
Network in
thinking.
Abuja can be terrible.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's what there she goes. Before we answer her question, I'm just thinking that the problem predates any thought we may have, because it's like trying to go back to where actually did we get it wrong.
That's right.
Every society has their history, their culture, and over time there's been a lot of. I don't think that any society intentionally wanted to make the man the dominant figure in such a way that it suppresses the woman. But I think that over time, because of certain unique features like the masculine nature of man,
Yeah.
puts him more at risk. So if you go back to the industrial age, you go and check. Now, this is not a question of gender balance. This is a question of who was fit to do a risky job.
Right.
It's easier to take the man to climb heights, to do those weldings you see, to go down deep in the sea, to do
That's
marine
right.
engineering. Now, it's easier to get the man because of his physical build, and subconsciously, it's just like when you leave something in your home and you don't attend to it, it becomes a way, of doing things. Something as silly as not washing plates in the
Right.
evening, before, everybody eats. Before one
Yeah.
day you come to the kitchen is now a dump pile of unwashed plates.
Right.
It just started with
Right.
leaving one plate, so I think over time, the fact that men were these strong models that could handle, they were the ones who could easily fight. Their
Yes.
framework made them go to war and all that. It puts them in the place of making some subconsciously extra demand that became a culture.
That's
And
right.
then, nobody had that conversation. It now formed and framed itself into what we're calling, this imbalance in the gender
That's
today.
right.
So I don't think that anyone intentionally wanted to create this problem. However, we've also tried, in as much as is a lot that has been done, we've also tried to subconsciously address the problem like the problem, creating another problem. You know, I was talking about 2 weeks back. We're talking about those. I was on a call. We're talking about school dropout, the rates of school dropout, and interestingly, it was funny to find out that yes, there was a higher number of girls out of school, but statistics is now showing there's a higher number of boys dropping out of school. So while we're trying to fix a problem with the problem mindset, we create more problem. Therefore, living status quo probably worse than it was. So just to answer your question, I was saying initially that there was no man. I don't think there's a man, but culture has now programmed some men to think that way. There was no man. I don't think there was a man who stood up and his goal was just to be a tyrant. However, we've evolved, and when you keep telling a child a lie, the lie becomes his truth. And man now thinks, everything he is now lies in the basic definition of what it means to be a man. And when you think about what it means to be a man, there are a lot of things, you think about strength, courage, and all that. And but because now, let me bring something that's a little bit ironic here. There is the popular saying that boys are drawn to their mothers, right?
Yeah.
And girls are drawn to their fathers. So now this is just being on a lighter note. If boys are drawn to their mothers, we could say a lot of women had influences of the boys. And if we complain that there are broken men who are abusing women, I'll ask the women, what did you do to the boys? So you
Good
see,
question.
I'm not trying to make
so thoughtful.
Very true.
Yeah. So you see, so I want us to see that the challenge, as it were, it's complex, and it will take each and every one of us, and that's why I love, the focus, the role of men here as allies, and that's why we need to, drop our shoulder from the point where it's who has the problem, who was the cause of the problem, to what exactly do we want.
Right.
If we look at the problem, we forget what we want. What do we want? Do we want to have a dominant gender? Do we want to, following the 16 days of activism, we actually want to stop gender-based violence? And if you go into the statistics, just as you have 1 in every 4, so we also have 1 in every 7 men are experiencing, gender-based violence. So it goes both ways. So what exactly do we want? And when we look at what we want, it helps us, go in retrospect to find what we are not doing right. I believe my perspective most times about issues as such is not necessarily gender driven, it's more of humanity driven. So if we have, if it's humanity driven, then I know I have a responsibility to the opposite sex, regardless of what their thoughts are, because without them, humanity is not formed, it's fractured. So I don't know if I answered your question.
To a large extent, I mean, this was just opening the conversation, and to a large extent, I think what really hit it home for me was that question about boys, being influenced to a large extent by their mothers, and if we're complaining that there's a lot of, there are a lot of broken men out there. Question is, what did the women do to the men?
I think she's gone again.
Yeah.
Naomi, we can't hear you.
I think you're frozen again.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she mentioned something about the stats, like, I'm not sure if she said, maybe people have this perception that excuse me, maybe it's an African thing, when it comes to abuse, but this, I mean, it's a should I say it's an issue that it's all over. It's all over the world. Like
it's all over, yeah.
It's not just an African thing. And, I'm
Yeah,
checking the stats and I see, it says nearly 20 people or women are actually physically abused by an intimate partner each minute in the
exactly,
US. And it
exactly.
adds up to about 10 million women, facing this domestic violence each year. So it's crazy. And just like you mentioned, TJ, it's like about 1 in 4 women and about, yeah, say 1 in 7 men. So
Mm,
it says that all. So it's just a world, it's a global
mm,
problem that, we face in that until we find ourselves in a space where we begin to speak about, issues, like this, we'll just find out that people will just be dying in silence, and
yeah.
some of
And it's
them
like,
going to the grave without even being able to, speak
it-
about some of the mishaps that they are going through in the hands of an intimate partner,
mm,
because I now tend to find out that, it's now in some circles, in some areas, you find out that it's like a norm. It's okay, if my partner, my husband raises his hands on me. Some would try to even be defensive, you know,
mhm,
and all this mindset, has to change because I believe that there should have been a set of um, paradigms, that has built up for you to think that way, that it's okay for your man to lay hands on you.
mm,
So it's going to be about your upbringing, your environment, the kind of parents, that actually brought you up. What is your background? Did you see your dad? You find out that, oh, as a girl, as a grown-up lady now, did you see your dad raise his hands on your
and
mom? And when she grows up, she's gonna be like, it's okay, my dad did it.
mm,
And she'll tend to justify that, to be like, no, it's okay. She'll tend
mm,
to validate it like, no, because I saw my dad did it. And I also know that my uncle does it to the wife too. And she's surrounded by all of this. And
mhm,
she's like,
mhm,
no, it's okay. It's no.
mm,
In fact, in some quarters might even claim like, it's a cultural thing. We embrace this. It's okay. Like, yeah, we see
yeah,
these things as we grow up. So when she start witnessing that, or going through the same problems, you find out that she will not even speak about it.
mm,
Can you guys hear
yeah.
me?
I
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yeah,
we can
Oh
Can
hear
you
yeah,
you.
hear
okay,
me?
yeah, you, Dr. O.
yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right. So I decided to stay back at the office and was sure, it's going to be perfect. But I'm going to switch my video off. I'll leave my video up.
That's fine.
Forth. Somehow I could see we're still going on clearly on YouTube. So it was from my end. I've moved location. So I'm guessing this place would be better. I want us to jump quickly to Kelvin. Kelvin is here, and although a man,
Mhm,
his perspective is the role of the youth. And while we may say, what the youth are the future, there's a lot going on even at that level. I mean, sometimes you
mm,
see videos online of, young boys and girls in relationships, and girls being bitten. So you don't even need to get to being a woman for you to have hands laid on you. What's
mm,
also happening over there? And I think tonight I really want us to share a bit of perspective, but let's also start dropping, action steps. What can we all begin to do? Because there are people watching us live on YouTube. There are those who will come and watch the replay. And for us at the Women with Stories, this entire week, we want to not just be advocates, but we want to also have our guest experts, give us strategies. What should we do? How can men be allies? What's the role of fathers, the role of father figures? Because even if you're not a father, you can influence other young men and other grown men. um Kelvin, please just give us a bit of perspective on from the youth angle, and also share some of the action steps you feel we can begin to deploy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Naomi, for having me here. Basically, I just today I was fortunate to come across a video on BBC and the BBC where we're talking about ladies who tend to find themselves in abusive relationships. Not just abusive relationships. I found that I saw a video where ladies are taken to a particular hotel and they are used as baby factories, whereby they give birth and the babies are taken and harvested and given to people who are looking for kids, and they deceive those people to tell them that they have critic pregnancy. And one of the ladies was giving her story, and she mentioned how I think she was 19 and she got pregnant. And because she was scared of going back home to tell her parents that she was pregnant, she had to talk to a friend. And the friend was like, oh, you know what? I will take you somewhere. Come to so and so state. I will take you somewhere, and you will stay there for a couple of months. You give birth there, then you give birth, you go back to your home and tell them you ran away for a while. One of the problem I think we face as one of the problems that I think people face or young ones face is the fear of stigma, is the fear of being judged, is the fear of being rejected. And at the end of the day, it boils down to parents. It boils down to get to people who are like guides to the young ones, and that is one thing. Me personal experience right now, I've seen people say things like, "Oh, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than laugh in a Corolla." And when I hear things like that, I'm like, why would you choose to go through pain, be all in the name of enjoying a particular thing and die there, than just get out of it? And right now, I found out in Nigeria now, the population of Nigeria, 60% of the population of Nigeria are young people, are the youths, and it is high time we begin to kind of come together as young ones, as the youth of the country, or of youth globally, and see how we can come up with ideas and innovations to kind of help people combat this violence. So because we're focusing on women and girls this time, and me, I'm a person that has a very high level of respect for women and all that, seeing my mom go through stuff, and I feel like just a typical example of the End SARS protest. If we can have youth come together and come up with campaigns and protests like that kicks against violence against women and girls, I think Nigeria, for example, will be a better place. Places like North Korea, Bangladesh, the penalty for rape or for domestic violence is death. By the time a man, because I'm saying a man right now because we're focusing on women and girls right now, by the time a man thinks of the consequences of hitting a woman, he will think twice. Because if there chance the woman spills it out and all that, it becomes a problem. And also, as a woman, as a girl, as a woman, because I found out that most of this violence happened to women between the ages of 15 and 49. And people are in need, as in 30% of Nigerian women aged between 15 and 49 experience physical violence. And this is according to the National Demographic and Health Survey, and they decide to just stay there because they are ashamed of what people would say. They are ashamed of how the society will see them.
Cancel culture.
You get, and that is one thing that is actually killing society right now. The country right now, we as young ones right now have to use our innovations to come up with ideas whereby we create safe spaces for people to lay their complaints, to lay their complaints and kind of express what they are going through. Talking from the IT aspect, I think by now we should, right now, I was thinking about when I was preparing for this, I was thinking of ideas of how to come up with an app whereby people can actually report violence and they get 24/7 responses. If something
That's fantastic.
an emergency link whereby something happens, you post there. We have people in different states that can give quick response to whatever it is you are going through. You go there, you talk, or a 24/7 counseling link also for people to be able to kind of spread and talk about what they are going through. Secondly, right now, especially for the young ones between the ages of 18 and 25, come up with education and peer programs whereby we set up programs for people, for these young ones, where they listen and understand that. Sorry to say that. I'm going to switch to pidgin. To marry, no be by force. To be, there should not be by force. If that guy is beating you, get out of it and report it. Because when you are reporting it, you might think that you might feel bad putting somebody in jail, but you are saving the next person that guy.
Yeah. Is it me? I think he froze.
Oh no, I think we lost Kelvin a bit
Can you
there.
hear me now?
Okay, yes,
Okay,
you're
you're
back.
back.
Yes,
Yeah,
we got you.
yeah.
We got you.
You are saving the next person who is going to be
100%.
with, because most times you see people, as young people, we come out of abusive relationship or abusive families, and we don't get to report it. When you don't
And then
report
somebody
it,
else goes back in
somebody else
there.
takes over from where you stopped.
But the truth is, you hear cases, and this is real, because you then really think of how crazy it is, because you hear cases even of women who would raise the alarm, and some other woman would say, well, that's your portion. Maybe it's your mouth that was not good. So with even the warning, they will go in there and then later come out to say, oh, you were correct. Or some don't even make it out alive. So I think a lot has to do also with how we think, how we're being raised to think. And yesterday, these were some of the conversations we had with the experts. There's a way we've been conditioned over the years that it feels almost impossible to think differently. It just feels like, well, this is my lot in life. And so I'm just going to take it as it is. Every woman is dealing with it. There's also that, narrative that it's everywhere. It's as though there's no woman out there who is getting it good. So
So
again,
if I'm going to
I
add,
love, yeah, go ahead.
can I add? So I think at the end of the day, if we have initiatives where people can easily talk about what they go through, it will be better, because most times people get to talk to the wrong people. And people get to
I
go to
love
the wrong
that.
people. Yeah, most time I could be going through something right now, and I come to you for an advice. And maybe I'm not saying, okay, maybe I might go to someone for an advice, and maybe that person I'm going to an advice is used to an abusive partner right from the time the person grew up. And maybe the person saw the father hit the mom, and the father will
And
tell the
that's
child that,
norm.
oh, that is me showing your mom love. And the person grows up
Yes,
and
this
gets
is love.
married, and her husband too hits the person. Then I, who is used to a happy home, experiences it, and I tell my friend will be like, come on, you know what? That is love. Why? Because the person's mind has been kind of has been fixed to understand that tough love exists, and that is not
Right.
love. So when we
That
youth
is not
right now
love.
come together to come up with programs, initiatives, apps or whatever, and we have designated people who know the job. First thing first, the first thing about combating violence, right, and domestic violence or whatsoever, right, is not being judgmental. Even if at that point, because when a woman when I saw a video on your page where a girl was saying the guy that she loved poured acid on her face. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
Yeah.
Kelvin.
When it said the guy she loved poured acid on her face, and
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
girl's face was totally burnt, and she said people were asking her, what did she do? That should not be the
Absolutely.
first question. No matter what you do, right? You should not be pushed to an
It shouldn't
extent.
warrant that.
It doesn't,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I agree, she might have a bad mouth. We all have bad mouth one way or the other, be it subtle or in the hard way, But the consequences of what she did should not end in her being disfigured, And that
It's
is where
terrible.
yeah. And many of us right now, we see the red flags, we see the sign, and we assume, oh, I just got him angry. That's not who he is. That is who he is, or that is who she is.
Okay, I love I love where you just stopped now. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the red flags. Tunde, I'm going to come back to you. What are red flags women should see? And and run, like bail. From a man's perspective, talk to us because there are women on this call. There are women who are yet to be married. There are women in relationships, and they're probably saying, you know, he loves me. This is how he shows love. Red flags women should see and bail. Please give us, give us, give us, give us.
You want me to go
Tunde,
for
can
that?
you hear me? Yes,
Oh
yes,
yeah,
Tunde,
yeah.
that's your
Oh,
question. Yes,
okay.
please
All
go
right.
for it.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And talking about red flags, there's just a lot. There's just a lot. And some of this can be hidden maybe from the inception, from the beginning of a relationship, whereby the guy is trying to get to know the woman or the lady.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And if he doesn't have, like good intentions, you will come packaged as a lamb, like somebody who is really this easygoing person. And, he has a strategy that he really wants to get this woman. It's like a lion, preying on its prey, looking for,
Right.
uh, what to go eat. Then I don't know if you've seen some of those videos on National Geographic channel.
Mm-hmm.
And, at first, the lion is not always like saying when he sees the prey, it relaxed. It kind of, I'm thinking in its mind, it's strategizing like, how do I go? And it comes off very slowly, you know, so that the prey is going to be caught unawares. It comes off slow, subtle, gentle. And at a certain point in time, it just races and goes after the prey.
Right.
So, and the reason I'm using that analogy is that, yeah, it happens the same way, dude is trying to chase a girl down, is coming out packaged and all that. But when one of the red
Mm.
flags you begin to see in the relationship from the early beginning is about the man not being an active listener. Is always about me. Is everything should be about me. You're always just talking about me. And if I, as a woman or as a lady, try to say something or I try to express myself, you're like,
Right.
it's already jumpy. It's already saying, no, I said, this is how I want it. So it shouldn't be about you as a man to say, hey, everything goes your way and this is whatever you say is final. So you have to have that boundary,
Mm.
or you have
Boundary.
to have your antennas, like ready to detect, to say, hey, this dude is not on the right path, because it's just always about him. You just don't want to be someone who is so selfish that you don't even want to listen to other people's um, concerns or their feelings, like a man who is not listening or is not paying attentive or who is not validating your own feelings. Those are the red flags that you will see from the beginning. Like if I have something that is so pertinent that that is so worrying that I need to take care of, it's so easy for you to brush it off. But when you bring
Mm.
your own issues, you want it to be solved right now. Those are red flags. A man who is like so abusive, not even physically, but the way you speak to your woman or your lady, or maybe your cousin or your wife, anyhow, that is a red flag. You can't be cursing
Mm.
at your wife. And some have
Mm.
accepted it to be like a norm, like, no, it's okay. How can you?
Wow.
So, like I've seen men demean their wives or their partners in the public. How can you do
Mm.
that? I've seen
Mm.
men, notable men, even with some nice titles, pastors, like demean their wives in the presence of other
Mm.
members of the church. I'm like, what is this
Yeah. And this was one
draconian,
of the
or what is
conversations.
this
Yeah.
ego like going on with this man? You
This
know?
was one of the
So I'm
things we
just
talked about yesterday.
Yeah,
when
so
we
those
had
are all the
the
red
role of faith.
flags.
Yeah, the role of
Yeah,
faith-based organizations. Yeah, sorry about that. Because
yeah,
I just
no
wanted you to
worries.
hold your thoughts. Yeah, I wanted you to hold your thought on that because yes,
Right.
there was the conversation about what about, women who go to church leaders to say this is what is happening to me, and the people that they've gone to seek help from are also abusers. And in
Oh,
in that case, maybe the first lady or
Emotional abuser.
oh, that one is even worse. It looks like that can take another day
That one is
to
story for another
decipher
day.
that.
That's another story for another day.
we can't even touch that tonight. We
No,
can't
no,
Oh
even touch
man.
man,
that
that is
tonight.
deep. Yeah.
Because most times, if they go to these pastors, they go to this imam, they go to this whatever traditional head, religious
One
head is
second,
this.
guys.
They
Mm.
say what they say, then they turn your heart against your husband. You go back home to your husband, and it becomes something else. Then it now becomes Papa. Papa said, Papa said, Papa said, not what your
Mm.
husband is saying.
If I may
TJ,
come in, yes,
yes,
I want to
TJ, I
come
want to
in.
hear your thoughts.
I've just been listening and writing, and sometimes I try to think about. There was something I said. I think you didn't hear that. Is most times we look at the problem. The way we look at the problem is also a problem. So we look at the problem with a problem mindset, and we create more problems. However, I'm going to mention some red flags, as a guy. But I just want to say this: listening to Kelvin, one of the things that resonated, and you said that, is mindsets. So maybe I'm jumping forward and I'll come back. Is mindset. One of the things we don't do as humans, and I'll be saying humans. I won't be talking about just the guys or the men or the women. As humans, is that like you said, we've been trained to think in a particular way, so we don't ask questions. I
Yeah.
think if we ask questions, we'll liberate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why the woke generation seem to want to tear everything down, it's because they are finding answers without questions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, we've jumped from not asking questions to getting answers without questions. So the process, it's jumped. And guess what happens? You can't hack life. There's no, when I say hack, you can't hack life. I ask, how did you hack yourself to become 40 or 50? You went through 40 years to become 40 years. So you can't hack life. That's my thought. So
Mm-hmm.
mindset, set of beliefs that shape how you perceive yourself, and how you perceive yourself is basically how you perceive the world. What informed those beliefs? So this is not about religion or pastors or anything. What informed those beliefs? Who told you? How can you verify? What is the foundation? Because like I was talking about culture, some people did a thing that worked, and then because it was new to everybody, it became what was. Now let me go a little bit into ministry, because we talked about pastor. We've heard pastors come out and say, hey, this things I said, they were wrong. Why? Because there was new learning, and new learning comes
Mm.
from the
Yeah.
place of inquisition. We're asking questions. So we
Mm.
don't ask questions. So our mindsets are fixed as men based on a culture we inherited, that we don't know the foundation, as women based on the culture. And because we're not even asking questions, we're jumping to the answers. That's also another thing that instigates violence, because it
Mm.
should be. We're not even sitting down to have the conversation. You want me to change a thing by fire, by force. I'm sorry I've jumped to the end, but we're not even
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation so we could reason. So our reasoning is locked out of the whole equation. It's locked out of the whole equation. So we'll come here. If we come to a debate, you will see as it will seem as though right from KG or your primary or whenever I started doing debate, I put it to you, I put it to you, I put it to you. What are you putting?
Mm. Mm.
So we have
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
constructed our mind. So with all due respect, I was watching some news today on climate and all that. And there was this climate UN stuff that happened, just ended.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was the Indian woman who was talking on the phone. She disagreed or objected to the point, the motion being passed by the SecGen. And she was talking, I object, it is not fair, it is not that. And then our Nigerian DG or this thing wanted to talk. He said, no, she was talking. And you wanted to communicate, right? You wanted to say a thing. Why not just say it?
Yeah.
So you see,
Them
the
being
mindset, and
aggressive.
we're not asking. And let me now bring my own experience here with my wife. I found myself yelling at my wife one day, and I found myself, because another thing, I try to be very intentional about, what I do. I would make mistakes, but I should be able to think through retrospectively. And sometimes I pause in the action and think, this thing you're trying to do, is it the right thing? So I found myself yelling at my wife. And, I just heard, shut up within. I'm a Christian. So I believe in God and the Holy Spirit. And I heard the Holy Spirit tell me, shut up. And I was like, okay. And, there was this split-second conversation with God. And it was, let me go vernacular like Charles. Sorry for those of you who are not, you will learn pidgin by force.
I bet drop
And
and just.
I was like, it was like, sure, you say your wife no sabi do this thing.
Okay.
I was like, she went on sabi, can't they make you when sabi, you weren't supposed know. Can't do what you supposed know, you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
And says me that.
My God.
Let me put it in English. Yeah. The question was, you say your wife lacks the capacity. Yes. How come someone who lacks the capacity is making you, who has the capacity, to do what you know you should not do?
Okay.
I immediately realized that the problem at that point was not what my wife was doing, was that I lacked the capacity to manage her lack of capacity. That was the problem.
You assumed she had the capacity.
No. I knew she did not have the capacity, but I lacked the capacity to manage her state of lack of. So that was the problem. So you find out that we do not think. I could have just reacted and to end, fight. So mindsets, and it's not a gender issue to me. So we need to start asking questions, and we're having questions, having conversations like this. And the conversation is not coming from a place of you guys, the men, or the women, but what do we really want, and what do we need to do? So let me jump back to red flags. I said I went ahead. One of the things that ladies need to know. See, guys are natural hunters. So when guys come out, they are doing what they are designed to do. If not, you will never get a guy who would marry you. So if they are not after you, you're on a long thing. So I think it's even something of joy when guys are coming, if you ask me. But then any guy who will try to isolate you, run for your life.
Yes. Isolation.
Yes.
This came up yesterday as well. Isolation.
He will try to ensure that he cuts you and become the chief dictator of your life. He knows everything. There's no room for, externals. There's no room. Please run for your life. If he cannot be comfortable and confident in your circle, please open the circle. Make it open the circle.
That's true.
Let it flow out.
Wow.
Yes. A guy who would always
profound.
Sorry?
No, I said this is profound. Go ahead.
Yes. A guy who will always make you feel unworthy, who will always make you feel unsafe, who will always make you, there's the English word. It's called the gaslighting. Yes.
Gaslighting.
Yeah. A guy who would do that. Please, if the guy gaslights you, firelight the guy. Whatever you need to do.
Run.
A man should make your self-worth should go times X, it should go times 10 around him. And please note, I was sharing this with someone yesterday, and this is another mistake we make. There's something I have to say, but let me say this. This is another mistake we make. Okay, Naomi, let me use you here as an example. I don't need to relate with you because I desire something selfish from you before I become value to you. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
I need to relate with you from the place of adding value to humanity. So I am of value to my world. So you should benefit from my ecosystem because it's my default status. And that is what love truly is. To share the best of me to benefit you. And that's what also Jesus came to do. But because when I am out there, my goal is to share the best of me to get all of you. And that's what girls need to also be aware of. A guy who wants to share who he is because he wants all of you want to run away from you. Because those guys end up becoming the guys who would lock you. They don't want you to work. You'll be the housewife. You'll be, let them go and do everything. The day they see you calling somebody, you have to explain and write a 10 paper with references to who you call. You know, something I was watching yesterday in a church about a man. This was a man going to report his wife that the wife was talking to another man. Went to church to report. It's online. Very funny. And the wife said, I was owing somebody. And the person called. My neighbors all know this thing. It's only her husband that you know. You can, and he used the word, now she marry me, not be me marry him. Meaning that, yes, meaning that if I'm the one that married her, she should do all I say. Yeah. But since now she married me, she wants me to do, come on.
Okay. We could go on, and it breaks my heart a lot of times, by virtue of the work I do and just the privilege I have in working with women who come from all sectors of life, and some things I hear, it breaks me to my core to just really wonder, how on earth did we get here? And like you rightly said, we really have to start asking the right questions, and we have to pay attention as well, to what is being said, because again, we're talking, there are advocacies, there are meetings, but are people really listening? Are they hearing? And are they willing to do? So it's going to be a collective responsibility on all our parts. We can only but do what we can in the time that we have. But after all is said and done, there are people who will still hear this and say, he loves me, that's why he beats me. And let me just put it out there, you need help. You need help.
Exactly.
Your interpretation of what love is not okay. And maybe we need to start teaching more of this. Maybe we need to start really defining what is love and how is love, what is the right kind of love? Because I promise you, there are people listening to this right now who don't believe in anything gender-based violence. Interesting, Kelvin, you were talking about that interview you watched, and I watched it this morning just before I came to work. The Cryptic Pregnancy. It's a BBC documentary, and I was blown away. I was blown away because these people actually got to that place of believing. If you watch the part where the Commissioner for Women Affairs was interviewing that couple, she was so sure that this was her baby. And it is the power of thought. It's the power of thought. It's not even so much of scam as compared to psychology. And I want to believe that those drugs they give them that feeling of being pregnant. And when you stay with a thought long enough, I promise you, they will start having all the symptoms as though they're pregnant. And by the time they induce them and bring another baby, they don't even believe that they didn't push that baby out. You want to wonder what on earth is getting people to think that way. You heard when the commissioner said, "Are you not educated?"
Exactly.
I don't even think it's that kind of education as to really saying what has shaped our thinking.
The common sense factor.
Yeah. I think we're at a age right now whereby mental manipulation beats education hands down.
Absolutely.
So what's the way out? I need us. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to, I said I was going to say something, and I'm happy you brought this. I want us to think about, there's a bit popular saying that who controls the media controls the mind. Yeah. I want you to pause right now and think about the average content you consume on any media. I want you to really do that, right? Anybody watching here, I want you to think about the last movies you watched, even the last articles you read, the last adverts you saw, the last music
post on
you danced to. Yes. And I want you to try and filter out and find out how this information shapes you. Because the truth is, we have more entertaining content. What's this word? There's this word. Somebody help me. I always missed it. Misgonomy or something like that. that talks about, when you talk about women and, without prejudice, so whatever the English word is,
Misogyny.
Yeah, you see why you're a good English student. Misogyny. Yes. So we watch comedy. When I watch some of all this comedy, I don't laugh. It breaks my heart. We think that we're just making fun. No, we are programming mindsets.
TJ, I have to pause you here. There was one, and I'm sure this is the one you're referring to. There was one that was a baby who I think the mother was trying to feed, and maybe the baby wasn't okay with eating the food. And there was a full-grown man who she would try to feed. And then when he says no, she slaps him and then gives him the food. And then there were comments about, this is funny. And I was livid. I'm like, this baby's already traumatized. The relationship with food will never be normal. The relationship with the opposite sex will never be normal. How do you slap a grown adult to try to teach a baby how to eat food? And this is content. I know we're not really focusing on the power of media, because we have an entire day where we're talking about the power of media, but I'm glad it's coming up today, which is why we really went above and beyond to get everyone's input into this. Because again, what are we really watching? What are we creating? What do we consider funny?
Yeah, a typical example, for instance, right now is this is the reverse right now. Look at the incident of the lady that poisoned her boyfriend and his friends with pepper soup because he broke up with her. It trended, And
did they die?
And this girl, they all died. She killed them and killed herself. There were 4 of them. This girl is 19 years old. What does she know? It's in the news. Because the guy broke up with her and had a new relationship, she came to the house, made pepper soup for them, and poisoned the pepper soup, and they all drank it, they all died, and she killed herself.
Oh my God.
And for a 19-year-old girl, right, to me, that is still violence. But it's on the reverse right now. And it can only boil down to what she has consumed, either physically from friends or family or from the internet. And it's funny how right now on the internet, this is no insult to women or anything. I think women need to kind of stand up right now to reject some content, to reject playing some roles in some content.
I was just going to say music videos. With all due respect. Sorry to interject here. Music videos. You see, whenever you watch music videos, you see, and music is one of the strongest influencer of the human mind. The average music video puts the man as the dominant figure, and the women are all shaking everything all around, naked all around. Now, what do you want the average man to think seeing that after that? I told my son, I told my son one day.
Don't go far. Sorry, don't go far. Don't go to the average Nigerian man. Let's talk about the Gen Z guys right now. Because the way they consume these things so fast, and because there are things that this Gen Z do right now that people, I'm not too old, right? There are things that they do that even me at my age, I've not even thought about it yet. No, I've not thought about it. I'm question, right? How did you think of this? And it all boils down to what you just said right now, what they consume, what they hear, the music video right now, women or ladies have been sexualized. And the only way to be sexualized is if you permit it. Right. Women should come up right and say that, you know what, I have pride, I have dignity. There are other ways. There are people who do music like that. I'm not going to mention names. That the music are actually making waves, but they've not sexualized those videos. And it's becoming funny right now. And I think there has to be a regulation to make sure that this thing, a particular comedian makes a particular video and it's all about a lady with a big bum and big. Come on. So, and at the end of the day, you are trying to tell them that, oh, I have money. And they go after this man because he has money to buy cars, to buy them houses. Then when people young ones watch these things, what are you telling them? Oh, if I have these assets, fiscal assets, I can attract a man who will give me money. And that's why we have a high number of people who save up not to invest, not to train themselves, but to go do BBL.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
exactly.
it's very unfortunate, you know. This high prevalence of moral degeneration, you know, happening, and you know the power of we
Is
can't
it me or we're
underestimate the
losing
power.
Tunde?
Oh,
We can hear him clearly.
No, we
oh,
can hear him
oh, can
clearly.
you hear me? All right. Yeah, I'm saying we can't really underestimate the power of
Oh,
the
okay. So it
influence you
must have been
get,
me. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
from you know, all these social media postings, and you know it's just unbelievable how it actually influences, you know, our kids, and it's everywhere. I know you guys are talking about the Nigerian narrative, how it's also here in the US, you know.
Of course.
We have a son who we had him in South Africa, right? So we brought him
Mm-hmm.
here to the States when he was 9, right? I think 9, yeah. So it's been 10 years now. So he's 19 now. So now we were kind of like comparing, you know, the upbringing from South Africa to the US, you know, and we saw some of the how we've exposed them, you know, because we want them to have everything, you know, just give them what they
Mm,
need. And we have to be careful as parents, you know, as to
right.
how we don't overexpose our kids to some of these platforms on the early
Mm,
stage. So we have our older son, he's 19, turned 19 in September. Then the middle one is 8. Then the last one turned 6 about 4 days ago. So we've already made the decision now, like, hey, for us to keep these boys sane, you know, these are boys, like, it could be challenging. We're not exposing them to certain kind of things. They're not going to have no iPhones until probably they get to high school and all that. If they have to have a phone, it's going to be the landline at home. Call me. We want to check on you. If you're out there, you're not going to have a phone, because
mm,
we already saw some of the impact, you know, that it has had on our older son, which took lots of effort to combat and correct, you know, and
mm,
kind of like guide him so that you don't end up, you know, uh, setting up in the path of destruction, because some of the things that they will see online is what they will end up carrying out to do. So we need
right.
to engage even as men in healthy talks, you know, how we can form and shape and be role models for the upcoming generation, starting from within the family units, to say, hey, son,
Right.
hey, daughter, this is how you do. This is how you do to the opposite sex. Hey,
Mm,
daughter, no, you can't be treated like that. Have you seen me treat your mom that way? No, you need to have healthy relationships with them. We need to engage them at that level, because I mean, just like you said, 60, you said, Kelvin, 60% of youth, like
Yeah.
the population in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah. So these guys have a powerful force to reckon with, that we need to build them so that they can be a useful generation, because the level of moral degeneration is like crazy. Like we thought as we
mm.
were growing up, you know,
We are
we
Yeah.
leaving
say
it
just
behind.
We were playing.
we're
We were
wild.
playing.
But this one's, it's another
Mm,
level, you know. So we need to find ourselves constantly being accountable as men to
mm,
myself. I need to be accountable to myself. And I see other men, definitely, I would have friends, I would have cousins, I would have uncles, to call people out. Because let me share this other story with you. I have someone close to my heart, and I believe, Naomi, women with stories, you have women talk about this abuse, because we're talking about gender-based abuse. Person close to my heart, who was abused from probably age 8 by our own father and brother.
right.
And this went on for years, until she probably, you know, graduated from high school, and she kind of like had to bail out of the house. And she didn't share with anyone. She only kind of like shared with me, the first person she shared with, because I don't know where, kind of like, friends and all that. And she's like, I just find it like I could share my life story with you. This is what happened. So I'm like, how have you been able to handle this all these years, So she doesn't know. She's just, it's just
Hmm.
something that she has held, with her for all these years. And she had never told a friend. She couldn't tell her mother. She couldn't tell the sisters. She couldn't tell anyone
Hmm.
until we met. So I was
Wow.
like this God sent person who she was able to be extremely vulnerable to and shared. And, it's now something that we now have to talk through to be like, oh, have you really healed from this? So one of the ways, that we can play the role of allies, to help women who are going through this phase or challenges in their life is to help to have that to practice and believe people who have gone through all of this and be able to help them out, be able to connect them to the right professionals who might help them
That's right.
transition from that place of hurt, they grieving to a place of healing,
That's
so
right.
that it's not going to be something they're going to hold dear to their heart, and it can make them actually become like what it does is that one of the things it does is that it makes you as a woman feel lesser of yourself, like you are worthless, you're not, you there's no
Hmm.
self love, the, there's there's just a whole lot of complex issues that you have to deal with that actually affect whatever decisions you will make as a woman.
Eventually. That's
So
right.
it's always just, in my heart to be like, oh, wow, the little or the way I can support is, like supporting women with stories and other advocacy groups
That's right.
that would
That's right.
actually challenge the status quo, like reaching out to people in government to be like, hey, guys, what are you doing? Are you guys passing laws, that are going
Mm.
to help this group of people because it kind of feels to some extent that no, they are non-existent when you hear about these stories on social media. Thank God for social media. These are some of the heals that you hear. Thank God for social
Mm.
media because some of them you might never hear some stories.
That's
Maybe
true.
some stories that we hearing on from women with stories. These are the first time these women are sharing those stories. Maybe with TJ, you've heard someone who have confided in you. I don't know, maybe TJ, you are a coach or Kelvin, and they are
Yeah.
only speaking it to you for the first time. I've had those instances. They're like, you know what? I never told anyone this. And I'm like, you know what? This is a safe place. So we as men need to come on board
And provide safe
and
spaces.
and model ourselves to be examples and also project this out there. Which is why if you go to my page, it's always about, promoting that family units to be like, there's nothing wrong in, showcasing, you showing off like your wife, your family. This is important. This is the way God has designed marriage.
Mm.
So if you're coming out there because you have this platform, is a free for all thing, is
Right.
limited regulations. So you can't really don't say that, don't do that. So people will come out with their own agenda. I've seen here a lot in the US, it's online, where a satanist and atheist, like people are coming
Yeah.
out boldly and they're trying to
Full
influence our
chest.
kids. They are telling them like, this is it. There's no God. So I'm like, I'm not gonna sit down. I'm going to do the little I can do, post out there, tell people how God has been gracious to me, tell them how the family setup is great, tell them how marriage is beautiful. Yes, it
Right.
comes with its challenges, it's a whole package, but you can always circumnavigate all of this. And say, yeah, we're still standing. Yes, we went through one, two, three, four. I mean, talking about emotional abuse, who do you think like we didn't start good? I know, TJ, you were talking about the Holy Spirit. Say, he tell you, say, make you shut up. Say, just keep quiet there. I used to do something like when we fight with my wife back, when we used to live in South Africa, first 5 years of our relationship was crazy. So and this is like another red flag. It's
Hmm.
non-existent red flag. I'm not a talkative person. It's only now growing and getting exposure, self-development, and I'm growing. But when I reflect back, one of my red flags was like, I don't talk too much. I come with the silent treatment. That one is a very bad emotional abuse. My wife, she will hold me. She's like, talk. You're not going anywhere. Because I just want to, and it always work. It's a
Hmm.
very bad one. Like the guy who doesn't talk, you don't communicate, you don't have open and healthy communication
Hmm.
with your wife, you know. And communication is one thing. Part of it, a subset of that is that you comprehending, having a full comprehension of what your wife is saying. It's only
Saying it.
now being at this stage that, we now tend to understand. I'll be like, sweetie, if I hear you correctly, then I'll repeat what she's saying. Is this what you mean? She's like, no, that's not what I meant. What is it with this Nigerian English? She's South African, then it's like this English is clashing, they are clashing. I'm like, okay, I didn't know. If I hear you correctly, oh, this is what I say. You say, no, this is what I meant, you
Wow.
know? So
I
it's all
think to
about
be
having all
fair.
this healthy communication and,
Hmm.
building up from there so that we projecting it out there so that with the generation we have to start it from the family unit. We're having sons, we're having daughters, so that when they go out there, they will also project that which they've learned from home, to the outside
Wow.
world. Yeah.
I mean, Tunde, that's a whole lot of nuggets you've shared with us. I thank you for the work you're doing. I'm a big fan of the work you're doing, and
Thank you.
I truly believe because sometimes you have the conversations and you feel like, my goodness, where do we even start from? Have we
Mhm.
even scratched the surface? What have we done
Right.
in the last hour and a half? What are we doing? Is it working? But I believe it's going to take all of us collectively showing up in our different spaces, using the power of media, having the conversations, raising our children, being intentional about the content we watch, standing up for what is right and not going along with status quo and what seems to be popular. This is how we will shift it. I'm going to go to TJ and Kelvin. I want to hear your closing thoughts. You shared a lot already, but I want us to bring it home. What do you believe men can do, TJ? And then Kelvin, you're talking about the role of the youth. What are some of the positive things, strategies we can begin to deploy individually and perhaps collectively as a people?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tunde. You picked a lot from my. Maybe I should end up with my glasses again, so I know that I'm really looking like
To get more insights.
you shared quite a lot of thoughts I would have shared. But let me just extend by saying to men here, what men can do as allies, men can start by learning to accept that we may have all the muscle in the world, doesn't mean our
Mm.
brain is the strongest in the world.
Ooh.
The muscle, yeah, our physical muscle doesn't equate mental muscle. And we need to
Yeah.
get to that place where, in as much as we can be dominant in our appearance, doesn't mean that our arguments are also dominant in reasoning. So if we understand that, if the woman, in our belief, was created from the man, and he was created to be a helpmeet, to the man, that means the best version of the man was extracted, and that understanding will make you value the woman. And that is me now saying that men can learn to demonstrate respect to the woman, not because you're weak. I think it's a sign of strength and the strength of love if you learn to respect women. It takes
Yeah.
nothing to respect women.
That's
And I
right.
realize that a man who has learned, now respect is not losing your respect. Respect actually increases your respect. And I
That's
realize
right.
that the man who respects women gets them in their lots behind him. And like in Warri, you
Mm,
will never see Shege. So a man who has learned to respect women. I was telling a story how, growing up in my class, because in my family, we had two boys. There was space of maybe 5 years. Then my elder sister, me, and two sisters. So I grew up with three girls. I was in the midst of three girls. Then my father went moved us to a compound where a man had one boy and five girls. So it was now eight girls and just two boys. we were compelled. I was compelled to grow with a lot of girls around. In class, I found out that I was like the friends to all the girls. They could easily
Yes.
follow me. Yeah. Guys were asked, well, guys wanted to be like me. They felt I was that sharpshooter that girls were just following.
Yeah.
I didn't toast any, I just got to realize that once you respect the woman, you understand how she feels, and you acknowledge that her feelings are valid and you're willing to support, you get the best of her.
Yes.
That's what I believe. So men should learn to be emotionally intelligent as well. And
Yeah.
probably in wrapping up, I will just say something you said, which I think is, I wrote something down. I said, I wrote this. I said, it just came to me while I was talking and I just typed it. From men to boys, men need to focus on raising boys with the right values.
Mm.
According to something I read from the UN Populations Fund, men who are exposed to positive role models are more likely to hold egalitarian attitudes and less likely to perpetrate violence. So
Right.
mentoring, modeling is very important. But my final thoughts is is that we need to speak out. Men, we need to keep speaking out. Let's call a spade a spade. What isn't good, regardless of how it feels. Let's not feel we are out of place. Because
Yes.
every time you do not take your place, you get the woman misplaced. So those are my
Mm.
final thoughts.
That's profound. That's profound, sir.
Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. So profound. I mean, it's funny because I was like, the guys will be on chill mode, maybe 45 minutes, we'll be done. I'm like, these men are on the road tonight. Kevin, the stage is yours. I'm so blessed. Honestly, we need to do this again. And I'm happy I've
Yeah.
connected all three of you. I feel like there's a lot three of you can do together. And I know you did not know
Absolutely.
yourselves.
Absolutely.
You did not know yourselves before I brought you together. That I know. That I know. So Kelvin, your final thoughts.
Yeah, so for me, I think at this point right now, we need to come up, the youth basically need to come up with programs that, like I said to you in the chat, you know, about you coming up with a program that would educate women, especially the young women, you know, because as fun as it may sound, this issue of violence against women and girls actually is actually becoming very rampant. And if it's not tackled on time, it could get to a stage whereby we'll just have frequent deaths every day based on violence against them. And at this point also, I think we need to come up with programs, initiatives whereby we get the government involved, because one thing I know for sure is when things are being passed into law and people kind of know the consequences of whatever it is they do, they begin to have that fear. And what this Bible says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The fear of the law sometimes is the beginning of wisdom, like in Bangladesh and North Korea, for instance, right now, try and go and rape a woman. I think rape, they won't even think about it because they know what is going to happen to them next. So I'm not saying that the same law should be passed here, but there should be awareness that, because when women know that they have a backing and they are secure, they are safe. Because most of the time, I was watching an interview on one YouTube page where a woman was saying that she advises ladies to have their own money, because most of the time women are in abusive relationships or marriages, but
They're not
cannot go out
empowered.
because they have been made full housewives and they have nothing to their name. So their fear is, if I go out, what would I have? Women need to be educated, to be taught that, oh, you can be this, you can be that. We are in an age right now. I think one good thing about this generation is that many women are woke. They want to have their own money. They want to, because I've been watching this series, this smart money YouTube, the program on
RSA.
YouTube. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And I see that how women are actually trying to kind of be independent. You know, I'm not saying being independent then not being not be the woman, but at least have your own, so to be able to kind of take care of yourself. Because we men sometimes, I think, we get challenged, we get to respect women who are actually doing something, you know. And because I want to be able to kind of have an idea, and I come to my woman, I'm like, what do you think? And she thinks better than I think, you know.
And
And I
she's
tell you,
like, I'll drop the first seed into this idea.
not
Like,
not not not
take
even
it.
not even the street itself. You know, there's some wisdom some women will drop to you as to us as men, and we'll be like, where did I get you from? And it's so we need to
Wow.
really just need to come back together to see how we can kind of come up with initiatives. I'm going to work on what I mentioned earlier, and maybe I'm going to share with Mr. Tunde and Mr. TJ too, on how we can actually create apps that will be like a quick
Yes.
response, right, to issue of violence. You know,
Right.
let's not just have social media for chatting and for whatever. Let's have
True.
apps that actually solve these problems. You know,
True.
and
Love
who
it.
knows, it can end up being a global thing. You
I
know,
love
Absolutely.
it.
that
Yeah.
we end up having representatives in different countries, in different states, who will be first responders, all right, to incidents like this. So
Right.
when
Love
things
it.
like this are in place, people will know that, okay, except if you want to seize my phone, people will know that, okay, if I do this, there is a quick response to tackle me for doing this. So
Yeah.
rather than just behave, the person can decide to just leave the marriage or leave the relationship, and women get to
Absolutely.
have the upper hand. Yeah. So I think that's one thing we
Absolutely.
need to do. Involve the government, come up with initiatives, train women between the ages of 18 and 25, make them know their power, make them know that whatever it is that they do and they try to come and confine in people, it is sure not to leak out. It won't be a topic of preaching in church the next Sunday, and that is
Right.
the fear people have, and that's just how I'm going to end.
Hmm. Hmm. My man, my brothers, I am grateful. I mean, when you mentioned this app thing earlier, I mean, instantly I had like a light bulb moment. And I love that you're ending and you're saying, guys, I'm coming over and we need to talk about this. And who just knows, maybe this might be one of the big things that we birth out of this entire week of advocacy. And that just fills my heart with so much joy because truly there is something we can do. As much as it feels like it's a whole lot, have we even scratched the surface? At the end of the day, it's the little things. If I do my part, you do your part, Tunde does his part, TJ does his part. The people watching this live on the replay do their part. At the end of the day, we may not entirely end this, but it will not be so commonplace. I love how you talked about also the empowerment of women. I believe tomorrow or Thursday, we're having two financial experts talk about the role of economic empowerment for women. Tomorrow is really special. We're also having the UN Women Country Programs Coordinator. She's going to be joining us live, and I'm deeply honored that we're having her voice as well. So this is it. This is our part. And so as you are going away tonight, and this is for everyone watching live on the replay, ask yourself, what can I do? It's no longer enough for you to see something and turn away and say it's none of my business. How are you raising your boys? How are you raising your daughters? I mean, my sons know better. You can't even, it's not a conversation. You don't do it. Law, it's a rule. You don't. There's a way Sammy would treat Sparkle, and I'm like, no, you don't do that to a girl. This is your sister. I'm drilling that into him now. So you can't even get away with it. That okay, this is my sister. She looked for my trouble. There's a better way. And so it's the intentionality that we all have to bring to the table. And I believe once we all begin to play our part, we will get to a place where we can look back and say, yes, we did what we could do. And the world is better for it. Thank you
Yeah, I
so
wanted to
much,
say something.
gentlemen. Yes, please.
Just wanted to add to what Kelvin said. It's very interesting. I know it feels like we've only been here for 5 minutes, but so I'm in the news space of information security and cybersecurity. So uh, there's a very huge market for this that you mentioned. A friend of mine, we're talking about this about 2 weeks ago because we're looking into threat intelligence, looking out
Wow.
for vulnerabilities, because with the emergence of AI now, you could find there's a whole lot of deep fakes, Dr. Naomi or any one of us as influencers, people could easily get access to our data, to our information, and
Mm.
there's a whole lot of things that will cascade from that, whereby our information or data is exposed, and there's a way we could help uh, reduce or even probably eliminate issues of or gender-based violence. And it's a very good one that you talked about, but I don't want to take more time. Maybe we'll speak behind with TJ and Kelvin. And yeah, we'll
There's
talk with
something.
my friends in Canada. We were talking about this really, and it's very
Tunde,
interesting.
you need to check the chat. Check the chat. TJ just dropped something in the
You said
chat.
let's not sell our
Oh,
product
oh
now.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
end this session.
Non-disclosure. Oh, because we
Non-disclosure. Guys,
true that, true
I
that. I'm
am
just
Because
grateful.
excited. Like, yeah,
me,
true,
already, I'm
true.
already thinking of so many things, and I'm thinking how I already seen how far and why this can actually go. It would be great having 3
I'm
men pioneering
bringing
this.
three of you. I'm bringing three of you into a group right now. As soon as we're
I
done,
know.
because
After,
we're not going to sleep on this. As
after
soon
this
as we're
call,
Yeah,
done,
I'm coming up with
right
a
now.
proposal. I'm going to share with us too. Also, immediately, I'm going to come with a proposal and
Okay.
share with us.
awesome.
Beautiful.
TJ said I'm having. TJ says I'm having ideas. Let's not sell our
I can
product.
see the flame. I can see the
Right.
flames on the bed already.
I love this.
Thank
This
you
is
so
interesting. We
much.
should do
Thank
this
you.
more often. Yeah, it's
Yes.
beautiful. Yeah,
We're going to keep the
yeah,
conversation going. I am
yes.
honored. I am grateful. My heart is filled with so much gratitude. Thank you, my brothers, for doing this with me tonight.
Thank you,
The
Dr. Ho.
conversation continues tomorrow. Everyone joining us live and again on the replay, thank you. Thank you for being here and continue to share the link. You just might be saving someone's life. Thank you, everyone. And this is goodbye from Abuja, goodbye from California, goodbye from TJ. Where are you right now? Are you in Abuja or Benin?
Benin,
Goodbye
TJ.
from Benin, and Kelvin, goodbye from
Goodbye.
Abuja. All right.